Hello everybody, Jared the Wyrd-Worker here. Gonna give it a second to make sure we actually start showing the live. Most excellent. I do want to apologize. The quality of this video will be a little bit poor, I'm afraid, because unfortunately my good computer went into the shop on Saturday after I announced I planned on doing this. And I don't get it back till tomorrow, so I'm using my travel laptop, which does not have quite the features that my regular laptop has. So hopefully things will work out okay. And in the meantime, we will continue with this stream. And thank you for those who join. So as the introduction said, or as the description said and the title said, this is going to be about witchcraft, religion, and religious witchcraft. And what brought this conversation about or to mind is the fact that it's something that I've heard a lot in recent time, especially the last year or two, that witchcraft isn't a religion, it's a practice. And this has a lot of times been done to make a distinction between Wicca and other forms of witchcraft. Which I think it's fair to want to make distinctions between Wicca and other forms of witchcraft because there are other forms of witchcraft. I will also note that there are other religious forms of witchcraft. So, let's talk about that. I think first of all what we should look at is, what does it mean to say some witchcraft is religion and some witchcraft is not religion. And I think the important thing is to understand how we're defining the terms. So let's start with witchcraft. Now, personally, I have a very, very loose definition of witchcraft. I personally see witchcraft as any magical practice that identifies itself as witchcraft. Now, I put that in there because I want to respect those traditions, such as voodoo and other African traditions, that don't want to be associated with witchcraft for whatever reason. I want to respect that. They are welcome to the term, but I understand that they also want their distance from the term, and that's respectable. So that's why I say that any magical practice that wants to call it witchcraft, I'm open to seeing it as witchcraft. To me, if you're doing magic, you can call yourself a witch. Now, what does it mean to be a religion? Well, that gets a little bit more complicated. A lot of people, because we live in a Christian culture, is very strongly views religion as a belief system, and particularly a belief system in God, gods, or the supernatural. Again, this is because we live in a primarily Christian society where Christianity is defined by those things. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the whole religion is viewed that way, or that all religion is viewed that way. There are religions that are more orthopraxic, that are based on right practice. A prime example of this is Judaism. In Judaism, it is a religion, and it's particularly an ethno-religion, and it is focused on observing the commandments. But belief in God is not necessarily necessary. In fact, I know a few Jews who are, in good religious standing, but are atheists. They don't believe in a literal deity. And they are still seen by their community and by their rabbis as devout religious Jews because they observe the commandments. So we get into that too. And I do think that this is an important thing because I think I can't lower the res midstream.
Okay.
But thank you. Why? How bad is the lack of smoothness?
When you're talking, it's fine, but
Okay. Sorry about that, folks. So, I think a lot of people who say that witchcraft is not a religion are saying that in terms of that they're saying that their witchcraft is not theistic. maybe, have other elements of religion like, ritualism and common practice and repeated practice, but, they don't believe in deities. And that is fair. And if they want to say that that their practice is non-religious, I'm okay with that too. I'm not really pushing for a specific, interpretation or definition of these words. I'm just exploring them, and I want that to be clear as well. So we have all of that. We can also look at it that, some people, just, they have different ideas of what the gods are, and maybe to them, the gods are, and this probably fits into that non-theistic to some degree, gods are nothing more than symbols and stereotypes to work with. And that's fine too. And then there are just those who don't see their witchcraft as, religious because, it's not, organized. They think of religion as, being church and, having an authority and everything. And that's not necessarily a requirement for religion. But again, if that's their understanding of religion, I can totally understand why they don't want to call it religion, and I respect that. I also think that a lot of this is the fact that, people are just trying to get the idea that, you can take a lot of the practices which are common to witchcraft and spread them out and take them somewhere else. And this is where you get ideas that, people start looking into, witchcraft and particularly Wicca, because that's probably, until very recently, was almost the only version of witchcraft that was publicly available that people could learn about, and start applying that to in a Christian context. So you end up with Christian witches. And I do know, again, for example, there are Jewish witches. So we can look at those, So, and that's that idea that, if we look at witchcraft as the magical practice, and say, okay, you can have that kind of magical practice in any religion or even no religion at all, and that's a fair thing to consider too. And I do know Jewish witches, I do know Christian witches. I know, plenty of non-Wiccan witches. I know some, and I hope I pronounce this right, Brujeria. I know some of them. Some of those magical practitioners that wouldn't necessarily refer to what they do as witchcraft. Again, going back to the African traditions. And again, they don't consider themselves witches, and I respect that. But yeah, so there's that. Now, where I would like to go from here is just talk about, what I personally, because I do practice a religious form of witchcraft. My witchcraft is heavily focused around honoring the goddess Freya. And and basically in my tradition, Freya is the one who teaches, witchcraft, or at least specifically the form of witchcraft known as save, to the rest of the gods and humans alike. So she's very important to that. And I do think that there's a beautiful thing in, religious and theistic witchcraft in which it becomes a religion and a practice that's more of a partnership rather than, deity worshiper. I talk to my gods. I talk to particularly Freya, and I have dialogue with her, and we work together, and we plan together. We don't just, do I don't just do whatever she tells me to do. There's that dialogue and that cooperation. And I often talk about, and I recently did a TikTok about this, how we are co-creators of the universe. And that's how I see myself. I see myself in partnership with Freya, working to build a better world. And to me, that is a beautiful part of witchcraft. And I think witchcraft in general, whether it's theistic, non-theistic, or whatever, I think one of the beautiful things is that it is about self-empowerment and elevating the human to not just being, someone who is, on this world and being acted upon by this world, to someone who has a certain element of power, a certain degree of power, and that gives us increased agency. And that is something that I am very excited about. And I love the fact that we are able to go back up and do this sort of thing. I think this pretty much covers most of the things that I've been wanting to say. I don't know if there's anyone in the chat besides my wonderful husband. By the way, shout out to him, Joe the Gamer, for being a moderator. If you want to lean in and kind of wave Joe, I would welcome that. Yes, no? Gonna have to lean in a little bit more, or I can do this. Okay, let me just recenter my screen here. Okay, we look good there. That's good. Okay. But yes, if there's anyone in chat that would like to ask any questions or anything, I would be open to that now, and I would love to hear from you. Is there any questions, any thoughts, any different points of views, anything that anyone feels I did not cover? I would love to hear from you.
Nobody here, babe.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Give them a 1. Okay. Other than that, I don't have a lot to say beyond this, so I'm probably not going to spend a lot of time just rambling for the sake of it. I hope that you enjoy this video. Those of you who catch this in the replay, I hope that you found this useful, and I hope you'll leave a comment down below. And don't forget to like. Blessed be.